Hey everybody, it's me, it's Undead Viking, coming with another video review. I do apologize, my voice might sound a little different to you if you watch any of my videos. I do have a kind of a sinus cold going on, but hey, we'll power through it, right? So, okay, the game I'm going to review today is a preview review video for a Kickstarter game. And I'm going to kind of do this one quickly because I wanted to make this video, quickly in comparison to what I normally do, because there's only like about 5 days left on the Kickstarter campaign for this one, and it's already been funded. And so I mean, this is just, they didn't have a gameplay overview video, and the creator asked me if I would do so, and I said yeah, sure, what the heck. So I have a prototype in front of me, and we're gonna go through that pretty quickly. The game is called Archon or Archon. Well, here, I'll show you the envelope. I got my prototype. It is Archon, Glory and Machination, or Machination. Machination? I think it's Machination. And I played this with some people last night, and one person swore it was pronounced Archon. So, I don't know, maybe that is true. Now, when I first heard of the game, just really quickly, real briefly, when I first heard of the game, I was kind of hoping it was based on an old computer game I used to play on my Commodore 64, which was like just a game of chess, basically with mythical creatures, and when you would land on each other, you'd go into it and you'd fight. That was not to be, because this game instead is that each person is an Archon or Archon in charge of the city, and they need to get people to work for them, and then they use those people to go to different spots in the city to take certain actions, as far as like going to marketplace to buy and sell goods for them, getting warriors to prepare for the upcoming battle that is coming, getting different buildings that they can use for different purposes and things like that. And so it's kind of like a city building game, but mostly it's a worker placement game with a couple cool twists, and I really enjoyed it. So why don't I show you how to play the game, and then we'll do that, and then after, well, you know how I do this. I'll show you how to play, and then I'll tell you what I think, and then maybe I can help you out, and I can figure out if this is a game you want to back so you can get once it gets published. Alright, well, I don't have a box, so let's show you how to play Archon. Archon, whatever it is. Alright, this is the prototype board that I have. This is, as you can probably guess, not the finalized art for the game. But this is going to be very useful in teaching you how to play the game. And I've played on this particular surface several times, and the game is a lot of fun. I've always said, if the game is fun, I could play with stick figures and pennies, and I'd still enjoy it. But anyway, regardless, let's just kind of dive in. And I do apologize, you're probably going to have to, you know, I'm doing this in HD, but to, you know, kind of read, because I realize some of the writing's kind of small. Make sure you just go to full screen or something like that, and that would probably help you out a lot as far as seeing everything that I'm pointing at. But it's a 4-player game. I've set up the turn order. The turn order is yellow, green, red, and blue. And each player at the beginning of the game gets 8 cards. And these are just standard courtier cards. These guys are gray and lifeless blobs. They're not very interesting. But you do get to choose 2 more cards. And you get to pick 2. You get to pick a merchant, which is yellow, a scribe, which is green, a cleric, which is blue, or a tax collector, which is red. And you only get to pick 2. And you have very limited starting resources, so you can't pick 2 of the same one. But if you see over here on this board over here, forget the 2 GP. That is, I don't. This is from like obviously probably a preliminary version of the game. Normally that would say victory points. You get victory points when you upgrade and get better people as the game progresses. But you won't get any for this particular. These are kind of like the freebies you get at the end. But you get to pick, and you know, each person gets to pick 2 by spending a little bit of their starting resources, and they get those. And you just, like, the tax collector costs you a coin. A cleric will cost you an armed recruit. Like you actually in this game you actually recruit soldiers out of the barracks to be part of the Royal Guard, and so it'll cost you one of those recruits, and then just any cube, and for the other 2, for the scribe and the merchant. But so each person will do whatever. yeah, I'm just going to say yellow take a tax collector, and yellow is going to take a cleric, and I'm going to add those, and we'll just go and let's say green took a scribe and a merchant, and blue is also going to take a scribe, and so blue's got two. Red, I got to take red. So red will go cleric and merchant. There you go. So now everybody else, as the game progresses, however, the people become more and more expensive. So if you, as you recruit these, then you just slide them over. You'll notice the tax collector only has two. You can only get two tax collectors in your hand, but you can have up to 4 of each of the other ones. So yellow, as I said, took a tax collector and a cleric. So let's take a blue and a red. And so now we have all of these. And the reason why you take those is because they have certain special abilities. The tax collector, when you place him, you place a marker underneath him, one of these, and you basically then make that spot. People have to pay you a gold coin to come to that spot because the guy's collecting taxes. It's really, really awesome to have that. The cleric allows you to place a person in another person's spot. So it allows you, even if all the spots in a location are used up, you get to go ahead and take over and also place the cleric in that same spot. The scribe's neat. When you play him, you take that turn, and you immediately take another turn right after that, but you can't use another scribe. So you can take a scribe and a courtier, or a scribe and a tax collector, and so on and so forth. And the merchant, when you use the merchant, when you collect certain resources, like when you collect recruits from the barracks, or money from the treasury, or cubes from the repository, you get 1 extra. So the merchant is just good at handling money and collecting resources and things like that. So you get a little extra. So the merchant's also obviously really good. Now, to set up the game further, one of these cards comes over at the beginning of each new season. And, I'm sorry, one of those cards does, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. This is what the king has. You turn one of these cards over, and normally I wouldn't see what the next one is. But this tells me what cubes are going to be in the repository that are available. And you turn one of these over at the beginning of each round. This game takes place over the course of 3 seasons, and the seasons have 3 rounds in each one of them. So let's see here. 2 blue, 2 green, a red, and 2 yellow. There we go. And this card here is important because this is the seasons card, and this one tells me that collecting the arts is going, depending on the number of players, 7 points, 5, whatever. The astronomers is that, and recruits is this, recruits on the wall. And I'll explain, that might not make any sense to you right now, but I will explain it very shortly. And these are the cubes you're going to place in the market at the beginning of the season. And so the marketplace will get 2 red, 3 blue, 2 yellow, and 3 green. So there we go. Now the marketplace is fun to mess around with because you get to buy and sell goods there, but I'll explain that also in just a few moments here. So we have placed all that. Oh, and I should mention that these are the king's favor locations. There's 4 of them because it's a 4-player game, and they're extra spots that you're going to be able to place your workers up here. And these change as the game goes on. After each turn, the one in the end goes away. We move these down. We draw another one out of that stack. And so it's kind of like the king is fickle, and what he's willing to do for you as far as a favor is concerned is, he changes his mind, and one goes away, and then he comes up with a new one that he wants to do for you. So now the actual nuts and bolts of playing the game are actually pretty simple. You have to, before the first turn, look at your hand, and you have to take 5 cards and use those and put the other 5 cards aside because you can use them in the next round. So let's take a tax collector and then 4 normal guys. So nobody can see which ones I have, but I take these and puts those aside. And they're going first. So he's going to look at his hand, and he's going to say, I'm going to use this tax collector dude. And so then you
play the card in front of you, like so, and then you take one of your people, and since it's a tax collector, you go, and if you notice these spots that are on here, don't worry about the different colors, that's just for different numbers of people. That has nothing to do with whether or not certain people can be played. But it is important to look and see how many cards are in the spot that you're placing the person down. Some of those say have 2 cards in there. So in other words, if you want to place one of your workers there, you have to use 2 of your cards in your hand to do so. But I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put him in the repository, and he is a tax collector. Now everybody else on the game moans because they're going to have to, if they want a free cube, they're going to have to pay me money to do so, pay me a gold coin. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take the 1 red that's in there. And so I'll grab this and I'll put that in my personal supply. Now the next people will go. And so I'm just going to, you know, other locations. Actually, I want to show you this really quickly so you can see what the other locations do. If you go to the marketplace, let's say this person goes to the marketplace, you can make 2 buys out of the market and you can do 1 sell, but you can't sell what you just bought. So I hope you can see this, but up here there's a 1. So when you buy or sell, you always get what the number that is showing is what it's worth. So if there's 1 there, it costs me 1 to get this blue cube. And I can buy the blue cube. Now there's a 2 showing. So if I want to get this cube, it costs 2, and so on and so forth. Now, conversely, if there's like no green cubes in there, and I went in there and I wanted to do my 2 buys, I could buy, and then if I had a green cube, there's a 4 showing, I could sell a green cube, and then I would get 4 gold coins for that. So the market actually is, I've seen these in games, but I always like that, when like as you buy things, they become more expensive and it becomes more lucrative to sell them. And that affects everybody else as the game goes on, as far as where you're placing your people. If you go to the barracks right here, you just get a recruit. You just take one of these guys and you put it in front of you. And then you have that as a resource available to you. Pretty simple. If you go to the treasury, you just get 2 gold coins. So you take 2 gold coins out of the supply, put those in front of you. If you place a merchant there, you know, because you have one of these merchant cards, you get 3 gold coins when you go there. I should mention, if you have a merchant and you go to the repository, you get an extra cube. Very powerful. But obviously the tax collector's there now and screwing that up for everybody. If you go to the guild hall, this is where you get to change out your people. If you go to the guild hall, you get to take, and if you pay the cost, you put your person down, go to the guild hall, and then you take one of these people over here. So like, let's say, you know, they wanted a scribe. And so they take a scribe, and then they immediately add that to their hand, so they'd be able to use it this same round. You have to discard one of your people, though. So you'll be getting rid of, you know, most likely one of these. You could get rid of another different color if you wanted to, but you'll most likely get rid of one of your courtiers. And that's just removed from the game. It's gone. You don't have it anymore. Obviously, you can't do this if you have no cards in your hand. So if you play your last card to go to the guild hall, you can't do anything because you don't have a card you can discard anymore. But that's how you get more people. And that's very important to get the different people, because that added bonus that each one gives you is really awesome. If you go to the Builder's Hall up here, the Builder's Guild I should say, it allows you to build one of these buildings down here. If you look at the buildings, like here, I'll just show you this one. Once again, it says the 2 GP underneath, and that is actually the victory points that it's worth. But you can see up here, it costs 1 yellow and 1 green cube, and you get the chapel. And the chapel is really cool. I like this building. It turns your clerics into tax collectors. It's pretty cool. But anyway, so and you build, and you just put the building in front of you, and then you have that ability for the rest of the game. As the buildings get better, obviously these are more expensive a little bit as far as the cubes are concerned. You can see it says in second season it costs 1 less green cube to make things, and then the third season it costs 1 less yellow cube to build things. And so you can build everything at the same time, at any time, but you know, it's obviously going to be tough to get 5 yellow cubes right away. So you can get the 9 victory points that the statue's worth. But you know, that's how the buildings work, and you just put those in front of you. Now these in the middle are how you collect these guys. And those are important because, as I mentioned before, you are trying to... This is what the king is demanding. He's demanding arts. And so the person with the most arts, or these little boxes, gets 7 points, and the next 5, and so on and so forth. And then the sorcerers, or not sorcerers, the astronomers, 5, 3, 2, 1, and then the royal guardsmen are 4, 2, 1, 0. And so that's what he's asking. And that'll change at the end of the season. But to get those, you have to go to these locations in the middle. And so, if you go to the academy, 2 gold coins you can buy, get one of these, the arts. And it should be mentioned that you can do these twice when you put one person down. So if you if you had 4 money, you can get 2 of those. If you go to the planetarium, it costs you a blue cube and a money, and you get one of these guys. That's at the planetarium. Once again, do it twice. If you go to the Royal Guard, it costs you a recruit and a red cube, and then you get to take one of your... green there. One of your personal Royal Guardsmen, like so, and you get to place it on the wall, like this. And so you can do that twice even. And so you can go like that. And hopefully other people will help you out. And the reason why is because at the end of 3 rounds, at the end of the season, you will draw an attack card. And I just have these here right now. And you turn over the top one, and it tells you how powerful the attack is going to be. And this, it's for 4 people, 3 people, 2 people as you're playing. With 4 people, it just happens to be 4, 3, 2. But it's 4, so the attack is worth 4. Now, if you had people on the wall, and you had a total of 4, nothing happens to anybody. That's 4 of, and yeah, not just you being 4, but like if, say, red built 1 and blue built 1. So there'd be 4 on the wall, and then the attack does nothing. If, however, it was like this, that means that the attack isn't stopped, and they get to come, whatever, the people attacking the city get to run rampant through the streets. And depending on, if you have 2 people, you deduct how much the attack was worth, 4. And you deduct how many people you had on the wall. And that's how much you lose. And so you have to lose money or cubes or even victory points. You can go into negative victory points. If you didn't bother to put anybody on there, so you'd be losing 4 at that point. And so you have to go through your stuff and try to, like, basically they're ransacking you, and you have to give up what you have in front of you as far as your money and your cubes and your resources. And then if you don't have anything left in front of you, you then get to lose points, and of course that stinks. So it's kind of a neat little thing where you all kind of have to work together a little bit here, or you just have to rely on everybody else to do it so you don't get hammered. Because obviously if you put something in there, then and you aren't successful in defending the city, at least you're deducting, because green would only have 2 things they'd lose. As in this situation, everybody else would have 4. And then that's how that works. After the end of the new season, you take another one of these, and so then you find out what the king demands for the next round. You place these cubes in the marketplace. The marketplace will be much different at that point. You change it, and I should say at the end of every turn, the repository, everybody takes free cubes. Who wouldn't? After every turn, you turn one of these things over, and that's the next cubes that are in the repository, and you replenish that. You replenish the repository every turn. You replenish the marketplace at the end of each season. So that's a very distinct difference. And as I said, at the end of each turn, you get rid of one of these, and you go like that. And these work just the same. You just put a person on them, and you spend the card, and you get the reward. Like this would be 2 gold coins, or this would be a cube. This would allow you to change 1 cube of any color into a yellow cube, and so you can do stuff like that. And that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of the game. The only other thing I should mention is that with your 5 cards that you have, you pick your 5 cards, and you put the other 5 aside. Then the next turn you use the 5 that you put aside. But after you've used up all 10 cards, you take all your cards, you put them in your hand again, and then you once again put them into 2 sets of 5, and you set one to the side, and you keep 1 in front of you. The only other thing that's really important is the turn order, because that's set up randomly at the beginning of the game. To move up in the turn order, so you're not always being in the last place, blue can choose to pass and keep cards in their hand. And so if they do that, the person who holds the most number of cards at the end during a turn gets to go to the number 1 in as far as the turn order goes, and then number 2 the most number of cards, and so on and so forth. If everybody, like, if blue did it, held like a card, and nobody else had anything, they just go to the front and everybody else would slide back. But if blue held on to 2 and green held on and red held on to 1, you go like this, and these two would move back like so, and that would happen. If people hold the same number of cards, the special people that you hold on to are worth more. So if 2 people held on to 3, and one person held on to 3 gray ones, and then you held on to this, the tax collector is worth more, and so then you would actually do that. And in that case, the cleric is more important than the tax collector, the scribe is more important than the cleric, and the merchant's worth the most as far as the cards that you're holding on to. And they're worth like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you just total up the number of points that you have in your hand when you hold on. And courtiers are worth 0. But there you go. That's how you play the game. I hope that you kind of followed it. I mean, it's just one of those games where it's like you take your turns and then you replenish and you take your turns. And it's all about building up towards the things that are going to get you victory points, whether it's these buildings that are going to get you victory points, the King's Favor over here getting you those victory points, or even just getting people, because people get you victory points as well. You go through 3 entire seasons, 3 separate attacks, and after the end of the 3rd season and at the end of the last attack, total up your victory points, and as always, whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. So, alright, well, let me tell you exactly what I think of Archon.
I think more game boards should look like this. No, I'm just kidding. If you have a chance, go and look at the actual look of the finalized game board and the pieces. The game looks beautiful. The artwork looks great. So don't disregard this game just because of the way it looks that you saw in front of me. Okay, it is a game for 2 to 4 people. I found that I played 4-player games of it, and I found that the game lasted right around 60 to 75 minutes. And the first time we played it was like about an hour and a half. But it is a fairly quick playing Euro, and it is, as I said, it's a worker placement with a few different resource allocation things. And the really cool thing about the game is the hand of cards that you have. And I was a little worried right away. When I was reading about, it's like, oh, you get a hand of 10 cards and you pick 5. I was like, this is going to be some weird Dominion type thing. And because, in my opinion, the whole deck building thing is done. There's a few games out there that I like in that genre, but I haven't. It doesn't hold the same allure that it once did for me. But regardless, I do like this because it's about improving your hand, and so they have that aspect to the game. But you're not. But you're actually using strategy and picking what your hand is going to be during each turn. So, or when you get to pull your cards back and you get to pick which 5 you're going to use over the next 2 turns. I like that portion of the game. I like the idea, and then I also like the idea that you improve your hand and you immediately get to do it again. You immediately get to use the card that you just picked. And I really thought that the 4 different types of those magisters that are what those guys are, I really liked how well each one of those just kind of had its own really cool power. I love the fact that like the tax collector both was really good at improving your income, but it was also really good at it kind of just prevented certain spots from being used by people because if they wanted to, they had to use their own tax collectors, so then they couldn't use that. So it's like so they wouldn't be able to use it somewhere else, or they had to give you money, and money is always that's one of those tough things to come by in any game, in any good resource allocation game. It's got to be tough to get a hold of the stuff that you want. I mean that's what makes the game challenging and fun, and this is one of those games. I like the cleric, and I like the idea that the cleric, there's always got to be a piece that can go in the same place as somebody else, and that's really cool. And I like getting the chapel as the cleric, and that's that building that allows you to make the cleric basically into a tax collector as well, and so you're getting 2 for the price of 1. I really like that building. The scribe, obviously, you get 2 actions. Who doesn't like that? And then the merchant just gets double of everything. Well, an extra one of everything. And so each one of those is really, really powerful and is really, really useful. And you know, and I liked how they scale well against each other. You know, I just like games like this in general. I like the idea of, you know, building something now. Well, collecting the resource cubes to build something now that later on will be useful in later turns. And I like stuff like that. I like the added aspect of the attack as well. You know, it might remind you a little bit of Kingsburg, and it is a very Kingsburgian situation. But you know, it's one of those games where you have to weigh all kinds of things against, you know, like, I need to do this, I need to do this, and I can get points if I get, you know, the astronomers or whatever. Sorry, I can't speak. The astronomers, or you get points for getting the arts or whatever. But I gotta hope somebody else is putting people on that wall, or else I gotta make sure I put 1 or 2 people on that wall, so I don't have to lose a bunch of, you know, my resources and money, or even possibly points when the attack comes. I don't know. It's got a lot of really cool mechanics that all kind of work together really, really well. And it turns out into just being a really fun and challenging game. And like I said, it is a challenging game because it's really tough to, you know, other than the repository where the cubes are kind of free, it's really tough to get those cubes. I mean, you have to kind of be clever and come up with neat ways to do it, using the buildings that are out there, using the king's favors that are out there, things like that. It really becomes tough to pull that off, and I really just found the game to be highly enjoyable because of the fact that it was tough. Too many times, I think, these worker placement games are just kind of like, you know, touch you with the mittens and just say, oh yeah, go here and collect like 17 cubes, you know. And this is definitely not one of those games. And I guess that's what I found enjoyable. I said this in a few reviews prior to this. It's like, I really don't envy game designers because of the fact that when anybody comes out with a game and puts it in front of you, it's like, oh, this reminds me of blah, or oh, you totally took that from this. And it's gotta be tough to come up with innovative and new mechanics and new spins on those mechanics. And so you know, I can see where a lot of people have asked me, well, I own X, with, you know, and would this game even be different? And it's like, and this game, in my opinion, is. I mean, it's like, it's got a lot of the same things that are going on in other games that I've played, you know, but what it has is the way those things work together, and the way, and like I said, the cards and things, probably like the most challenging, most fun part of the game. You know, picking those 5 cards you're going to be using for that round, and how they're going to use. And I almost forgot. And like the turn order in this game is so freaking important, because if you can put a dude, especially a tax collector dude, on a spot very first play, and you can basically, you know, put it in the repository where all the cubes come from, you're forcing everybody either to give you money or forcing them to use their own tax collector in that spot. Things like that. And so turn order is so important. And the only way you can adjust your turn order is by taking less actions in the turn prior, by just keeping cards in your hand. And that is such a tough decision. I mean, that is so, it's like, I want to be able to do stuff now, but I want to be able to do stuff early next round, and so it's like, you gotta weigh that. And one of those really awesome, tough decision situations again. So yeah, I really dig Archon, whatever. And I hope, if you're a fan of worker placement games and things like that, and also a little bit of hand management and resource allocation, I definitely think you should go check this out. And I definitely think if you know, you think it's a game you'd be interested in, go ahead and back the heck out of that game so you can get it sent to your door once it gets published. Alright, so there you go. That was Archon, the Glory and Machination. Machination. So, as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this review. If you have any questions or comments, I know the publisher will pop in and answer those, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability as well. But until next time, thank you again, and I am Viking, and I will talk to you very soon, undoubtedly. Alright, bye-bye.